This conference will now be recorded.
agenda?
So move.
Second.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Is our commissioner here?
No, sir.
Okay,
The only issue we have update with them, I did meet last week with the recycle folks down here on Orduna. So we walked the ground. If we go with a recycle plant there, they're comfortable with it. Still working on the language of the ordinance changes with the legal. I just talked to Garrett about it. That's still in motion. And until probably the next 3 or 4 months, they'll give us the other 9 parcels in Sun and Lake that they own back to us for our wastewater plant. That's a process. It takes them a little bit of time. So all goes well with the county right now. So
In their opinion.
okay,
trying to be nice, sir.
I know.
Trying to be nice.
okay, first on the action agenda is a discussion on becoming a city and town or village. And that, we'll turn over to Garrett.
I can lead in, Garrett can chime in.
Okay.
What's in your packet is right now our staff, myself and our staff are not advocating either way, positive or negative. We're still gathering facts we're going to present to you. So what's in the packet is a combination of the initial data we continue to collect on this process. Garrett has the memorandum of the process, the timeline that we would have to do as a district or as a district to become a city. So that's getting refined. We're finding some issues there that we'll bring to your attention. I wanted to include here some of the issues that we've found as staff, concerns on a lot of the external funding that cities, towns, and villages are getting now are shrinking in Florida. They're not getting shared revenue. They're not getting DOT funding. So if there's some grandiose hope that all this money is going to be dumped on us, that's not going to happen in the near future. So we wanted to be fully transparent there, as well as a lot of city, towns, and villages rely on a consumption tax, a sales tax. We do not have a massive and robust commercial corridor, so we would not have that benefit. Again, all in our efforts to give you guys information to make a decision. The simplistic way to identify the potential for the cost is the county collects from us about $5 million a year in property taxes. And about 4.5, actually, $4.5 million a year with the current millage rate at the county level, 7.2% mills. We generate right now a little bit over 5.5 million in our assessment revenue to run the district. So to keep apples and apples together comparison, we would definitely use the feasibility study to lock that number down, but our millage rate at the very high level would start in the 8 to 9 mills to be equivalent, to get the same amount of money we get from assessments to run the district. Otherwise, there'd be cut in services, cut in stuff. So I want to throw that number out so we have a start point, because otherwise we can say it's great, but we don't have a number to it. So
Can I ask you?
Yes, sir.
Did you say the county was 7% millage?
7 point, it's in the slide.
I thought it was 16.
No, so
No.
right here is your county breakdown for 2024 taxes. So the
Okay.
county is 7.6 mills. So
Okay.
every $1,000 of value in your house, the county collects $7.60.
Okay,
But we would still pay county taxes.
You would still pay everything on that list.
So instead of paying $800 a year, we'd be paying the same thing that we're paying to the county? Is that what you're
Very,
saying? Or
and
more?
there's some
About the
data in
same
here that
thing?
shows
Or
you. Yes,
more.
ma'am. Yeah. So yeah, the county collects 7.6, you see there, but then we also pay for schools. You see that 3 point something and 2.24. If you look at the very bottom, that is our initial swag at what Sun and Lake would look like. This is a county product. If we became a city, we would be added to this product. So we would go right below the county. We'd say Sun and Lake, and that's your breakdown of taxes. If we had an 8 mil rate. So we would be in the 21 mil range, because that's everything the county pays. We would pay everything the county. Nothing goes away. County, schools, the stormwater, water management, all that type of stuff. We would just then add a city of Sun and Lake or whatever we call ourselves millage. So that will stay the same. more data here is, and this is our initial, I'll consider them pros and cons. You could look at them different ways, very simplistically. You know, you could become a city, you need to have an official clerk. We don't have a clerk, we have a secretary, so we would have to transition there. We would have to potentially have an elections office at our level for district level run elections, but potentially we can make a deal with the county and they can still do that for us. Permitting, zoning would all become us. We don't have a full department there. We would have to increase our staff there. We could stay with the sheriff. Avon Park has a model where they do not, other than a police chief, they use the sheriff department for top cover, I believe. So they don't have a full-blown police force. I think Sebring does, and I believe Lake Placid does. So we could take that option too. We don't have any policing. We just let the sheriff do what he's doing now. Same with fire. Sebring has fire department. Avon Park has fire department. We could just say we're happy with the county, keep the county. So there's some costs there, or some cons there and so on. Building out a staff. And right now, you know, ballparking it, that's an extra $500,000 potentially, because that's payroll and so on for those positions. You see there, we would move from an assessment model to a millage rate. I mean, that's simple. We can do the math on that. Most impacts would be on, I say commercial parcels, but you'll see an example in a few slides that it's not what you may think. And I'll highlight the hospital at that scenario. Residents would still pay everything, except they would add a Sun and Lake specific millage rate, but it would be on par with theirs. I say on par. It's basically the assessment goes away, you pay a millage rate, county tax or city taxes.
But
But
it's not
No, it'd be
apples to
double.
apples.
Oh, it's not at all. No, sir.
Not
And
even
you'll
close.
see in here, and we'll show the residents here that we pulled some data out to show some comparables. On the pro side, we would get everything at the level of a city, town, or village. So in the eyes of the state, we would be looked at in certain areas of funding, availability for grants and so on, without having to ask Mother May I of the county. So that's a good thing. I mean, we are not beholden to the county anymore on anything. We just pay them what they ask, and then we do our own thing, and they're not saying, fix this road, do this law, do that type of stuff. We don't get involved in them, or they don't get involved with us anymore. The good news is currently we have been building out over the past 2 years the current staff that we could transition relatively quick, other than those few positions I noted up there, because we have a competent HR team, finance team, operations team, so on and so forth, security and so on, that it wouldn't be a massive undertaking to start from zero like some of these cities, towns, and villages do. We looked at this. So if you look at the very bottom, that's kind of what your tax bill would look like when it comes to, if we stuck with the hypothetical here is using the 8 mills. You guys could set it at 2 mills. Just understand, there's going to be a lot of cuts happening in the district of what we are doing right now. Okay, so what your tax bill, this is again, just information. And this actually would help our residents and you all understand what you'll see in November this year when you get your tax bills, because our assessment is going to be on your tax bill now. So at the very top of a tax bill, you see this market value. This will be, and I apologize, this is going to be a little bit of an educational thing for a lot of our folks here. There's a market value. It's in that red area, top left corner. And a market value, an assessed value, and the valuation rate. So the market value is what the state, the county, the tax appraiser says your house is worth. If you recently sold it, they're using that number. If you have lived in it for 30 years, they're using the number from 30 years ago. Okay? So that's how that is. The assessed value is every state, every county in America, the assessor has the positive control to kind of adjust that on their own. In Mississippi, most assessed values are probably in the 5% level. So the value of the house, they have an assessed value. It's what? Also in Mississippi, their struggle with financing, it's one of the poorest states in America. In Massachusetts, the assessed value is 100% of your market value is what the tax man collects. So there's the range in America, and it happens in Florida too. That's the purview of the tax appraiser. He sets that. He doesn't have to be in line with other counties as well. So our appraiser has set it at 64%. There's math involved there. There's his guidance. I'm just giving you that example. So that's why you see a difference between market value and assessed value. So we got that. To the right, you see exemptions. Every one of us here, for the most part, has some type of an exemption. A veteran, disabled, homestead. There's a multitude of them. You'll see if you qualify for any of those things, exemptions there, that again gets ticked off your tax bill to get in line. There's discussion right now in the state, in this legislative session, to take that to over $100,000, to make homestead $100,000. That's going to be great for all of us. There's discussion right now also to get rid of property taxes. And then they'll all be looking at our model of assessments. So that's something that the legislature will discuss here, and that's a big push by the governor. So everyone has a listing of exemptions. Then you drop down to the ad valorem taxes. So they take your assessed value, they strike away any exemptions you may have, and what you get taxed on is that taxable value column. That's what you pay taxes on. So everyone is different in that world. If you have a bunch of exemptions, you're going to pay less. If you have no exemptions, you're paying pretty much close to your market value. Then you see the millage rate calculation, breakdown, all of that, and then to the far right, you see what your tax bill is. If Sun and Lake was in there, we would just have a separate line item in there. Currently, our line item would be under the non-ad valorem, where our county fire is, where the mandatory solid waste is. Next year, every Sun and Lake resident will see Sun and Lake assessment in that non-ad valorem, and it'll be based on our current numbers of you live on the golf course, you live in a duplex, whatever our calculations is. You'll see that number in that area there. So you have a new ad valorem bill, and then it goes on down the road there to what you owe the county. They still get the same deductions if you pay early, reductions in your bill, so that doesn't go away. But this is a way to clearly understand how they figure taxes out, how we would be in that mix. Right now, our assessment's not based on value of houses. It's not based on if I just sold a house, my assessment goes up next year. It's solely based on how we as a district do our evaluations across all our categories of parcels, vacant, commercial, one single family, multifamily, and so on. Okay, so that's tax bill. So here I randomly pulled 5 across the district numbers, trying to get you an idea if you lived on a golf course, you don't live on a golf course, you live in a duplex, triplex, wherever. And this is what the tax bill would be right now. This is what it would be if we had a millage rate of 8 mils, and this is to the right, far right, would be your new tax bill. If it's in red, you're going up. If it's in green, you went down. And it's mainly just because of the value of your parcel, your value of your house, and if you have a lot of exemptions. So you see a couple of the guys in green there, they have exemptions. So their taxable value goes down, thereby, based on what they pay right now to the district, they would have less to pay if we went a millage rate model. The guys in red, different story. It's now based on the value of their parcel. They have little to no exemptions, which there's a lot of people in Florida in our district that don't have any, not even homestead. Our northerners don't have homestead. It's not their primary home. So you would see an increase in their taxes to that extent over there. And then I pull out what specifically the Sun and Lake tax would be. So this is just kind of, again, to give you the information so you can really put a pin on it of what the deal is. For our commercials, this is eye-opening to me when you start going through the numbers. Where we think, let them foot the bill for a lot of this, not the case. Our $87 million hospital that sits right there pays us right now $124,000 a year in special assessments. And they pay it greatly, and they pay it on time, and I'm sure they begrudgingly write that check out. If we went to a millage rate model, because of their exemptions, they would only pay us $5,751.
So we lose, Rick.
So we lose a buttload of money from our great hospital. So if the hospital's in the audience, I'm sure they're clapping right now. So that's an interesting case, and that's solely based on the exemptions. There's a lot of our commercial properties, nonprofits, the hospital, doctor's offices, that have so many exemptions that they would not have the burden of taxes. Where right now, we don't exempt anything on assessments. You pay what we tell you to pay. And you see down there a few other, if you're just a basic doctor's office, yeah, you would go up a little bit. The Sun and Lake tax would go from about, $6,000 there? I'm using number 2 example. $6,000 right now they pay us in assessments. It would almost double for that doctor's office. The bank A bank sitting on frontage road would go, from, $5,900 to $8,700 and so on. So a big hit, and these are residents. A big hit is Tanglewood. Tanglewood is a $70 million endeavor down there. They pay taxes with no exemptions on $70 million. They pay us right now about $305,000 in assessments for all their parcels. They don't pay by the houses, they pay by the chunks of land they own. In this scenario, giving a millage rate model on Tanglewood, their bill would go from 1.5 million to 1.7 some odd million. They would jump up in Sun and Lake taxes from $300,000 to close to $523,000. Now you got to think of the second and third order effects. I'm not Tanglewood, I'm not the manager of Tanglewood, but who do you think Tanglewood, the corporate headquarters, is going to do to the 1,000 residents? It's just no brainer.
Yep.
All right. So we got to think through that. You all need to think through that, how that impact of the bottom line is. Again, this is just a snapshot to give you some data, factual data by parcel. And we can do this for any resident that walks in the door, any of you all that walk in the door, because we know the numbers and we can play with the model. Is it a 5% millage and whatnot? This is also what the feasibility model does. They do this for us. If you authorize the staff to get one done, they do it for us. They do the data mining, they do the research. They will recommend a millage rate at their level. That's what the step of a feasibility model is. But I just did you some bare bones numbers there of, simple math of, we need this much money, this is what it costs. So that's that thing. And that's data. That's all we got. Now I'll pass it to Garrett for.
There are, you all should have the memorandum that our office worked up for this question of what it would take to become incorporated. Boz just hit on what I'd like to start with, the feasibility study. It is a requirement, right? Because the way Sun and Lake becomes a city is you need an act of the legislature, right? The legislature, you submit your feasibility study, they determine if you meet the standards for incorporation, if it's would be a good thing for the community. You need their blessing, more or less. What that comes down to is your local delegation, right? Your local state senator, your local House member would need to be supportive for this to get out of committee, for this to get off the ground, and eventually that is how it proceeds. The feasibility study is going to show you, it's going to answer a few very simple questions. What are the reasons why this area wants to become incorporated? What are its physical characteristics? What is the political makeup, right? We're a special district. It would have to provide information related to what sort of services we offer now, what sorts of services we would want to offer if we became incorporated, right? There are only a few additional services that we could offer ourselves if we became incorporated. The main is planning and zoning department, right? We'd have land use authority, so we'd have that ability. We could provide our own public safety services, police, fire. There are other ways to go about that. We'll chat about that in a second. But that's more or less what the feasibility study looks at in terms of services. It also looks at the finances, right? Is this area, is the composure, the physical makeup of the area sufficient to provide for the existing services and the future proposed services, right? What would the millage rate look like, and so on. The main legal hurdle, right? So getting a feasibility study is as easy as authorizing staff to go out, get a consultant to prepare one, bring it into you all for discussion. The primary legal hurdle is, and I've referenced this before, a couple of years ago, there was a separate avenue for special districts to become incorporated, right? Florida law provided for a special way for special districts to become incorporated through referendum. That avenue is closed. The Florida legislature did away with that avenue back in the 2023 legislative session, or at beginning of 2024. The only way to become incorporated is to follow the procedure set out in the memorandum in chapter 165, which is, they came up with a creative name for it, the Formation of Municipalities Act, right? So Chapter 165 is the exclusive way that we would, the steps we would follow to become incorporated. The major hurdle is that act in Chapter 165 has a set of enumerated standards for boxes that we have to check to be able to even play ball, to even be considered, to incorporate. There are certain things that we have to, certain benchmarks we have to hit. And the primary one is one that I discussed with Boz. I think we might have some trouble with. We'll talk about a way to get around it, but to even check the boxes, it's on page 3 of your memorandum. It's number 4. The proposed area that would be incorporated would have to be at a minimum at least 2 miles away from any existing municipality within the county. As you know, Avon Park to our north, I believe, is within that radius, and then Sebring, I think, directly abuts the southern end of the district. So that's a significant legal hurdle. There are ways around it. You can get a special act of the legislature to essentially let the district incorporate, without meeting that requirement. That's an additional ask of your local delegation. That's money lobbying for that special act. That's going to be difficult. That's a difficult thing to overcome. And that sort of brings me to my final point on this, which is, the feasibility study, the nice thing that it looks at and it's required to look at is, does the area as it's currently constituted, what are the alternatives to gaining the benefits of incorporating, right? What can it do right now to provide those additional services? I know Boz has brought up before, you can contract with the sheriff's office for a municipal level of public safety service, right? You can pay an extra $300,000, $500,000 a year, and you get, police coverage like a municipality would, right? Same thing with fire. You can do the same thing for fire services. With planning and zoning, we're working on establishing an overlay zone with the county. There are other things we can do besides incorporating to gain the control to provide the services that would come along with becoming incorporated. So that is something that the feasibility study would point out. And I think, I don't want to speak for Boz, but certainly I think a question for the board to discuss, or it's a big question, but what are the sorts of services that your constituents might want, and can the board provide those services? Can Sun and Lake as a special district provide those services now without incorporating? What would the costs be? And I think that's the best starting point. Because, I can tell you right now, you do pretty much everything a city does.
Exactly.
The assessment model, as Boz pointed out, it's not a uniform it's not a uniform cost that applies to everyone based on the value of their real and personal property, right? This is what taxes are. You pay your taxes based on the value of your property. It doesn't matter what benefit you get from the services. That's the fixed number that the millage rate applies to. Assessments are different. You set assessments based on the benefit derived by the property owner, right? So you all assess parcels based on the benefit they get from the services provided by the district. So it's arguably a fairer way to do it. It's also not subject to wild market fluctuations, right? I mean, you have a big crash in the economy, market values go down, you get a new tax, property appraiser in, and, the assessable values, go down on a whim. New exemptions come through in the legislature, and now, a primarily residential place, a big chunk of your tax base goes away. You're going to disproportionately affect those folks who don't have homestead and your commercial folks. And, we don't have a whole lot of commercial folks here. So a lot of things to think about. I think a good starting point would be to think about the services you would want to provide. If we were to incorporate, what services that we don't offer now that you'd want to offer in the future. Can we do it now? What would it cost? And is that maybe a good place to start, in thinking about all this? So happy to answer any questions, but there are some legal hurdles to kind of put a cap on this. There are some legal hurdles to proceeding down this road.
I have a question. Do we know of any other special districts in Florida that have gone down this path and how they feel about it 5 years later?
To tell you the truth, I'm not familiar with any special districts that have incorporated recently. I can tell you that the legal landscape, at least in Tallahassee, with respect to special districts has changed since the Reedy Creek situation. That's when the legislature and the governor's office really took a hard look at what the laws were for special districts, and they're tightening the screws more or less on some of the requirements that we have to abide by every year. Similarly, they put an end to that special pathway for special districts. I can tell you there are all sorts of areas that are not covered by a special district that have incorporated that love it. And we represent Florida's newest municipality, Indiantown in Martin County. And it's been fantastic to see them develop.
Why is that?
They were historically underserved by their county, sort of forgotten. Martin County is a coastal county, so they have all the big fancy, coastal towns, and then they have little old unincorporated, it was dubbed Indiantown previously, but unincorporated area, sort of out in the middle of nowhere. They did not receive the same sort of attention. And they had this big FP&L site within their proposed boundaries. And so they made it happen. They have a big tax base thanks to that big FP&L site that they derive lots of revenue from. Development's booming, commercial industries booming, all sorts of very advanced, industries coming in to set up shop there. The difference is that, Sun and Lake is already a district, a special district. We're also not out in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. We already abut 2 municipalities. And what the feasibility study is going to look at, it's a requirement, it's a legal requirement, it has to state it. What are the alternatives to incorporating? One of the alternatives, if we weren't already a special district, would be to become a special district, right? Because it does provide for a higher level of service. Maybe not a municipal level, right? But certainly, there are lots of issues that come along with providing those additional services. When you have public safety officers, within your jurisdiction, collective bargaining issues, insurance costs to cover police and fire is almost as expensive as having your own police and fire departments. So, there are all sorts of hidden costs that you would take on. You would arguably have a more limited revenue source, at least year to year. But then the feasibility would say, well, they're already a special district. They could do, X, Y, and Z to provide those services they want within the confines of what they are. Of course, we're a creature of the county. We're always going to be subject to the whims of the commissioners. But, the hope is, you get big enough and you do things the right way for long enough, and, you can set the district on a path where you can provide for those additional services in an uninterrupted way, right? Contracting with sheriff's office for additional patrols, right? Things like that. That's just an example, not a recommendation.
We got Siesta Key, 2023, they incorporated to become, I'll get a copy, I just received this yesterday. We'll get a copy of this just for reading pleasure for y'all, just to see what a feasibility study looks like. They went from a barrier island, unincorporated area, not a special district, straight to a town of Siesta Key for exactly those reasons. The county neglected them, they didn't have services, they needed services, and they went that way. A major difference there. They are a heavy tourist beachfront.
I was going to say, let's compare apples to apples
It
here.
is well, just to show you what a feasibility study looks like. It's not comparing what we are there, but it'll show you some good comparables.
Could we ever be in danger of Avon Park or Sebring taking us over by eminent domain or anything
Oh,
like
no.
that?
So not by eminent domain. The way it would happen would be by annexation. But I don't think they would be able to annex in the district. We are a discrete special district, and our boundaries are provided for in the county's code of ordinances. There'd be all sorts of issues at the county level if the district were to disband. Essentially, we would get absorbed into the county, and the county doesn't want to absorb all that. They won't say it, but I'll say it. But yeah, it wouldn't be by eminent domain. That's when you take property for certain governmental projects. They would just have to annex in areas, but I don't think they'd be able to.
Really, the only way is if we became insolvent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Then they could come in.
Unincorporated areas, they snatch, we're doing that now with this other study, the county is snatching, and the cities, or not the county, the cities are snatching some land that's unincorporated, but they're providing services there. Us being a special district, that'd be hard pressed, and there'd be a vote on our side. If they tried to, let's say Sebring wanted to take over Tanglewood, Sebring would present that as a case, Tanglewood would have to vote, do they want to be part of Sebring or stay with Sun Lake? I mean, it's a lot of steps involved in annexation. It's not just, I want you, you're now mine. Yeah.
So Garrett, the only way we grow is what we're doing now is building more homes or raising assessments as far as financially.
Development is the path to providing a higher level of services, particularly the commercial areas of the district. They derive a larger benefit. When you certainly, I've looked at lots of vacant land. We're foreclosing on a lot of it. We're turning a lot of it over right now, and it's going to be developed in the future. The issue is you have to have the capacity available to take in that new development, which is what the district's doing, right, with their new wastewater plant. So you're providing the groundwork now to reap those benefits later. The issue with assessments, it's a fair way to do it, but you do have to tie it to the benefit derived by the property owner, which means, if for a year or two, you really want to assess folks, hey, we need lots of revenue to do all these cool projects we want to do. We think it's going to be great. Well, you're going to get sued and someone's going to say, well, my benefit, didn't triple overnight, from the district, right? So it's tough that way. There are caps on, there are millage caps that are applicable to cities. There are also special requirements for if you raise your millage year over year, a certain percentage, you have to have all these special hearings and folks are put on extra notice so they can come out and protest it. But, those sorts of revenues, additional sources of revenue wouldn't necessarily be as restricted if we were a city compared to what we are now. But certainly as the district provides more services, provides more recreation opportunities, parks, open space, roads, things like that, that's when you can take a hard look at your assessment model and increase it, accordingly.
Okay, just that I looked it up. So the city of Sebring their income is $67.5 million. Avon Park is 58.5. Sun Lake is 14.5. My only concern is we have a wonderful staff. We keep growing. We're doing this, we're doing that. We're the same. We're working with a big handicap as far as, so I guess the thing we need to do as a board is be a little more physical, responsible, and just wait till we grow a little more or something. Because
This board has been fiscally responsible.
Mr. Herrick,
Mr.
I will call on
Gilpin,
you when you're ready, okay?
I will call on me when I want
Yeah.
to, my friend.
No,
We are fiscally responsible. We have always voted by the board to approve any expenses that we put forward.
I did not say that we weren't. It
You
just says
just did.
we should be more in the future. But you do not interrupt
I,
the rest of the supervisors. I do
Well-
not interrupt you.
you do.
No, I don't.
Um,
So you sit there and
Don't
when
tell
you're
me what
called
to
on,
do.
you talk.
Don't tell me what to do.
So
I have a question.
my thing is that, you know, there is certainly a gap here that we need to fill somewhere. And I think of what we need from you guys is what you're doing now. And I like this discussion of what we can do in the future and let our people know what we can do. So
I have a question.
is there any
I
other
would-
comment?
I have a couple of questions. Number one, we are financially secure as an independent district. Is that not correct?
Yeah, you are correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have
Yes.
plenty of our revenue. We have the required amount, plus we have
Yes, ma'am.
a fund that we can call on in case we get a
Sure.
catastrophic. If we were to do this, and I will go on the record and say I'm not for this, would our future sales of property be impeded by an $8,000 to $10,000 tax, both county and Sebring, if we were to incorporate it? I mean, that's a big nut for a lot of our, not only our current citizens, but any citizens coming in to the district. How would that affect our sales? on
Feasibility study,
lots?
yes, ma'am. Feasibility study would lay out some of that data. I mean, just the common sense side of it is that since it's a millage is based on valuation,
Mhm.
you know, the high-end builders would, you know, honestly, just it's
They
common
go
sense
away.
business.
Yeah,
They like building here now because they can build a $500,000 house and know they only pay $1,000 for assessments. They pay the connection fees, they pay all that stuff, and we're good with that. And we provide, to Garrett's point, we provide $1,000 worth of value to that parcel with our security, code enforcement, stuff like that. So, you know, it's a business decision on those folks, but that could be a concern. High taxes are always a concern where you live, yeah.
we own all our roads, is that not
Yes,
correct?
yes, ma'am, yeah.
We just bought Sunny Lake Boulevard.
Yep.
We just had that, so we own all our
Yep.
own roads.
Yep.
And our roads are well maintained.
Sure.
Have you driven on roads in Avon Park?
Oh, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see any benefit in
Yeah.
doing this.
I've had that discussion with the county before when it comes to DOT funding, when they were talking about Sun Lake Boulevard. We could become a city tomorrow, and the most the DOT would give us shared revenue, what they do. They give Avon Park, the other cities, a small sliver of money for road maintenance for the good of the group. It'd be in the, you know, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 range. I mean, that's budget dust in many worlds, so. But that's all, that's what I'm saying. Those buckets are drying up at the state level very quickly. The biggest advocate that's going to be against getting rid of property taxes in the state of Florida are your League of City, Towns, and Villages and your League of Counties. Because to Garrett's point, right now, we have to prove to our citizens the value of their assessment. What are we providing them for that assessment? You don't do that for taxes. But they would have to go to an assessment model to recoup the money for, if there's no property taxes. So you would have cities, counties having to validate why they're charging you $30,000 in taxes. They would have to go line by line and say, this is why we're charging you that. That's going to be a hard thing to do for them. So they're going to be screaming murder.
As we continue to grow with our pool plans and everything, we are providing our citizens by our assessments. If they have to go up, they have to go up.
Yep. Yep.
Certainly, I just think we're in a little bit of heaven right here on earth. Why would we want to change? We've got 2 golf courses, we've got a beautiful pool, we got another one coming in, we got walking paths going. I just, tell me why we need to be a city. I don't see any advantage.
Is there any other comments from the board?
I'd like to say something.
Okay,
The only advantage I see is if we became a city, we could control the zoning.
Check.
And that would eliminate issues like we're having now where duplexes are popping up in the middle of neighborhoods and tearing down the property value. So we could control that zoning But I think we could also do a better job if we work with the county and
Aren't you on that, Boz?
We're doing that. It's just a long process.
Yeah,
Yes.
as we speak.
Yes.
And I think if we do that, we're on a better path and
Agree.
it will keep
Agreed.
the cost down. And so I think we have to look at the cost, and the cost is not worth it at this time for us.
Any other comments by the board?
Yeah. Yeah. Zoning is the biggest issue that I see that we have with the county. And we've already been in discussions with them about doing an overlay of Sun and Lake. If it involves Sun and Lake, we're at the table and have input as to whether or not this should be approved or that. And this has been going on now for good 6 months, probably working with the county commissioners on that. Also, what I see, the biggest thing from what I see in this is a cost shift. The expenses go to single-family homes. It isn't everybody paying an equal amount. And that's where I have a real issue with it, and I will and cannot support going to this type of, there's a lot of good things about being a municipality, but I think it's got to be a fair share for everyone.
So I don't want to say no today to this. I'd like to read this study from Siesta Key before I would even be willing to vote on doing one ourselves.
Okay, anything else? Just let the public know before I turn it over to you that this is a discussion. There'd be no voting. There'd be no talks of becoming a city right now. But this was for purposes of information for all of us, plus you. So I'd ask for any public comment, if there is any. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you guys for putting this together for us. The next item is discussion and a motion to authorize the general manager to negotiate the sale of up to 40 district parcels to Polk County for a water offset requirement of conservation parcels. Is it Oz?
So we have, we're in the initial stages of discussion here. Legal's already looking at it to give you guys a recommendation. But the district owns parcels that are coded as conservation. You can never build on them. They're usually to the north of us, north of Columbus, and to the west of Cortez in the northwest quadrant of Sun and Lake. So these are pre-designated parcels that over the years have been coded that way because of the terrain. Some of them are swampy, so on and so forth. There's no value of them whatsoever. We use a good chunk of those parcels when we have to do what they call offsets for stormwater, for wastewater, and we've used a lot for that, but we still have a lot. So they're just sitting there, and they can't be sold. They can't really be sold on the open market because we won't allow them to build. The county won't allow them to build. So it's valueless parcels. Polk County, a water district in Polk County, is expanding some projects there. And because state of Florida requires offsets, if you build on 10 acres, you need to show you have 10 acres in offset. They're struggling in Polk County because of all the development in Polk County to find land to do an offset. So they put a net call out to all districts in their region, and this could be anywhere in Florida, saying, hey, does anyone have conservation coded lands that they'd be interested in selling that we would use? And you don't have to be adjacent to their project. It could be anywhere in Florida. You just got to prove to Florida state that here's the 10 acres. It's coded, so on and so forth. So they reached out to us, discussion, and because of our Scrub Jay Preserve, we have some parcels up there. And because of that area out west of Cortez, we do have a list. The list is provided in there of the ones that are acceptable. They're just wanting to know our appetite if you all are interested in some type of divesting of some of this land after legal review, after we see how we're gonna what they're gonna offer cost-wise, who's gonna pay these assessments in the future, all that type of discussion. They're just wanting to get a sense of the board if we are interested in helping them out in this project. It'd probably be no more than 20 parcels. I know it says up to 40 in discussions, more and more discussions with the individual from the Polk County. They just need about 5 acres, so it's about 20 parcels for us. It would just be a revenue generator for us for, the range could be from $5,000 to $10,000 a parcel, even though these parcels are probably worth $500. So it's really a discussion to get your sense, because if you want me to continue discussing with this guy, then we can. Legal will look at it, and we'll see if there's any roadblocks, and I'll bring it back to you with a proposed contract or so on. So that's the gist of this discussion.
Any comment by the board?
Do you see any downside?
Since we're choosing the parcels, there's like 5 to 10 in the north of Columbus in the Scrub J that we just acquired based on foreclosures. And we don't even need them. And you can have a Scrub J parcel that's conservation, that's not a problem. And because the ones we picked in the Unit 14 area out west of Cortez by Balboa, they're just a compact little node of inside, no roads or nothing. There'd be very little negative impact to us as a district. We would never develop that area. It's right in the middle of a wetland. Nothing can be built there. It's a swamp. So I don't see a negative other than we would just get some money. That's it.
I hate that.
Anybody else? In my conversations yesterday with Boz going over this stuff, he showed me where they are, and they're all just useless parcels that we can do. But you are going to try to negotiate.
Oh, yes, sir. It's going to come back to you with a proposed number or contract, yeah.
Have they come to you at all about money?
So it's the 5 to 10 range
Okay.
is what we're talking about right now. And it's really just based on the location of if I get them all together, they're happy. If we have to spread them all out, they're like, well, that's a little bit more paperwork on their end. So it's really just starting the discussion if you want me to keep chatting with these folks, that's all.
Any
There's-
public comment?
I would just
Okay.
add, the district owns over 2,000 parcels that are in our name that we get no money on. This would never get to a level of impacting anything we want to do as a district, just so you all are aware, so.
Oh, okay, Greg.
Ray Brooks, 5634 Matanzas. Not on this subject, but go back to the previous conversation. That was just a discussion on the municipality. I just have a question. Where is the board going from the conversation? I mean, you said, thank you, it's over, the conversation. But does that mean you're dropping it? You're going to have further conversation? I'm just curious, what exactly is the next step, if there is one?
I don't know if there is any,
I want to read this siesta key.
but to answer your question, I don't know if there is.
Well, you had the conversation. Surely there must be an outcome to it.
Well, the reason it was brought up, because questions were being asked, and what about it?
Right.
I know myself, I could not answer the questions. I did not know.
No, I understand
the
that, but
answers.
they went through the effort of making a presentation to you all. And I was just wondering, I'm not asking for a vote, but is there a desire to go forward, desire to drop it? What exactly does the board feel about it? Or if you feel like nothing, that would be disappointing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I have no idea. Thank you. Is there anybody else, even on something we talked to a half hour ago? Okay. We need a motion on
It's just authorizing discussion at our level with
authorizing
legal review.
Boz
Yes,
to
sir.
do it.
Yeah.
Is it no motion or?
Yeah, yes, sir, motion.
Okay.
Motion to allow the general manager with legal review to negotiate the potential sale of up to 30 parcels to Polk County Regional Water Cooperative. Final agreement will be brought back to the board for approval.
I'll make that motion. Yeah, I hope you got that all down, Melissa.
Got it.
I don't want to say all that.
I second.
There you go, right there.
Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes,
Thank you much.
add-on items,
Nothing at this time, sir.
petitions and communication.
We have the letter from Senator Scott And we did get a small note, and I apologize, it's not in there, from Magnolia Place, a thank you because of the effort we're putting down there with street lights and some road repairs. So they just said thank you to the district. So that was nice. Yeah.
General Counsel.
Just a quick update on some of our larger projects. Since our last meeting, our office has filed an additional 30 foreclosure lawsuits related to the Auckland bond issue. We anticipate by our next meeting in 3 weeks, we'll have another 25 to 30 cases filed. That is to recoup delinquent bond 44 delinquencies. We also foreclosed on the delinquent district assessments as well. So that'll be an additional pop of revenue to the district in about 6 months when those cases finally go to foreclosure sale. In total, in the next 18 months, we should have completed approximately 280 foreclosure cases. So we're chugging along, we're getting on the road. It's just it's a big volume of lots, but hopefully, the end result is the district deeds those properties to Auckland for the outstanding delinquent bond balances, and they go ahead and they turn those lots and they either flip them to developers or they develop them themselves, and that's a big benefit to the district. So we're continuing to work on that. Our office is still in the process of reviewing some larger items for Boz and his team related to the wastewater treatment facility. We're continuing with our legal review of our sort of standard form contracts and agreements around the district. Should have something back to you on that for you all to review soon. But other than that, we're moving on our big projects, and I can answer any questions you guys have at this time.
Any questions for Garrett? I have one. How long do you think it'd take Auckland to sell them off?
Oh, no idea.
I mean, are they progressive about it? Are they working to try to do this? Because I'd like to never hear that name again soon.
Well, I was just talking to Boz a minute ago about an idea I had to maybe get them out of our hair a little sooner. But they have a holding company that they push the lots through to develop them. And the lots they don't develop, they wait until they have a group of contiguous or nearly contiguous lots, and then they go shop them to developers. The benefit there obviously is when someone decides to develop land, the district makes a good bit of money on the permits for those development fees. You can, the assessment rate nearly doubles. So they do a pretty good job. That's how they make money. They make money by moving lots. So they're pretty good about it. And they email me 10 times a week asking, if I can go any quicker. So they're definitely moving land.
Yeah, I totally understand why they're doing it and why and wire and all that, but it's just, since I've been on the board, it's Auckland this and Auckland that for a long time.
Yeah, because several years ago, the district did enter into an agreement with them on foreclosing all this land, right? Because we direct bill that bond issuance, so if we don't collect it, no one's going to collect it for us. We have to go out and foreclose it. So, yeah, we're moving forward on that. We're moving pretty well. Like I said, I think we have 50 cases right now filed and about 115 lots encumbered by those 50 cases. So, in a few months, it'll be close to 100 cases, and we're moving. So.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from the public? Okay, Boz?
All right, your general manager report, pretty lengthy in there. We're getting more and more feedback from my departments. So if you have any questions in your packet over time, please reach out and we can clarify. The main issues, Garrett touched on it. He's focused on the bond 44, or correction, the Auckland foreclosures. The bond 44 is the Fifth Third banks. And we are aggressively getting a lot of good negotiations back from those folks. Every day I'm signing an agreement, gathering money that we have lost years ago in the Fifth Third Bank deal. So I think our number is over 250 right now, $250,000 collected from people that just closed out their deal. We negotiated the bond, we reduced it, We eliminated all the bank stuff, and now these parcels are clean, have clean title, and I got people wanting to build now. So that's a good thing. So that's chugging away, and Garrett's office is knocking them out as they come in. Woods and Irons is other than some striping, and other than on the north side of Woods and Irons, some cement work. You'll notice there's a gap between Myrtle and the sidewalk that we finished. We're going to close that gap. Other than that, Woods and Irons is done. And again, for clarity, that was a basically parking lane. It is not a turning lane. You don't need to have a turning lane onto a T-bone street. So it gets the cars that are waiting for kids that are getting picked up there, which we have a lot, off the street so people can go by them safely. So I think that's going to pay off dividends there as we finish the grass and cement work. And that'll take care of that project there. The only due out there is a 3-way stop sign that we want to put. So I need to get the sense of the board on your sense of putting a 3-way stop sign in there. That'll help us on traffic on Columbus, slow that down. We removed the speed bumps that were in people's driveways. I'm going to replace those 2 speed bumps in more appropriate areas on Columbus. But I think the best safety measure, because of the speed up when they come north of the circle and the consistent speeding on the way down there, we're going to turn the Woods and Irons connection into a 3-way stop. Everybody stops, and then they can safely go on about their business. So just need consensus, no motion. If you guys are good with that, then our roads guy is going to slap in a stop sign in there with some road markings. So
I'm good with it.
I am.
Me too.
all right, we're good. Thank you much. And then that was the major project in the Woods and Iron area. We'll have a more official after action review with a video at next month's meeting, giving us some time to consolidate that. It's traveled to Kissimmee. The parade comes in up there today. We've taken a lot of our stuff. Nick drove it up there yesterday. Extra street signs, some flags that were donated to us, small flags for waving. They were very appreciative in the Kissimmee area. And I greatly appreciate the feedback, because it was a great bonding experience, not only for our staff that was working 24/7, different shifts of all nature, all the way around for that 7-day period, but it was more surprising, the bonding effect, and I'm sure I have some residents here, the bonding effect as a community. You know, when I'm walking out there at 2 a.m. and checking on my volunteers, and I'm having some coffee with a bunch of folks sitting in the tents, chatting with them, you can't, replicate that. That's a hard thing. And it was a great thing. And there was many citizens that this was the first time with a captive audience for 4 hours that they kind of knew their neighbors. They could understand them, know where they went to eat, know how long they lived here. And I think as a community, it's a great event that will pay us very many benefits moving forward. But we'll formalize that. We'll have an appreciation lunch dinner for the volunteers and others in the April time frame. We're working out the kinks for that, and that'll recognize all those great volunteers. It'll be kind of like we did the grill out at the Island View for our residents. It'll be in that same fashion, and we'll give out some small awards to some of our high performing volunteers. That, I mean, I think our highest. How many shifts did our highest person do? How many shifts did our one citizen do? Like up to 6, 7 shifts? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we had people that signed up for one with Coral, and as the event kept building, they said, sign me up again, sign me up again, sign me up again. I'll stay here another 4 hours. I mean, you can't beat that. So I greatly appreciate that from our residents, supportive of that. I'll get down to the fence stabilization one. Many months ago, we had a very sad incident on the Bianca Street area. This was a single mother killed her child in the house. That lady was arrested. She's locked up. More than likely will not be getting out. But the impacts of that is her property. There's no other people that own the property. Her property started going to disrepair. Her fence is being trampled. Her grass is growing high and that type of stuff. I'm working with Garrett. We're working with the county. We're trying to see what we as a district can do, because it's really negatively impacting the community over there. Yeah. And sadly, even more so, they call this phenomenon, death houses. There's people that's actually driving by there to try to get photos and break in, take pieces of the fence to say they were at the house. And that's weird. So our security's on it. We're keeping an eye on it, but it's causing damages to the house. So we're going to work through some issues there. and see what we can do. The counties, she was a county worker, so I'm trying to get the county involved to try to help us on their end, and we'll see what we can do for the benefit of the residents around there, because more than likely this house will just go through the foreclosure process. That's going to be years in the making, so it's not going to be quick, but we're working that. So any residents that here, we're kind of not doing anything. We're actively trying to do something because I understand the negative impacts of that. And it's a very prominent house. It's on a corner, large lot. Everyone sees it. It's not just tucked away somewhere. So it's a challenge. So back up to these conducting our own trash service contract. This is really a continued discussion that I need any guidance from the board. Currently, we all pay $229 per, and that's a year. I'm sorry. Why does it say a month? Per year to the county in non-ad valorem taxes if you live in Sun and Lake. That provides us weekly pickup and so on and so forth. The county ticks their charges up in the August, September timeframe. Had a discussion with the county worker, the department head, but I'm wanting a more formalized, give me a letter that guarantees what our rate increase is going to be. Because that's what my board needs to decide if we either stay with you or go on our own. Other communities here have their own trash services. We do not need to start up getting a trash truck and hire employees. We don't want to do that. Sebring and Avon Park do that. Most people rely on the county. So in that discussion, we put it out for bid. This is a large deal. It's a very close-knit community. There's only one provider in this county, and the county uses them. So they can't bid on other contracts. A Polk County contractor is the only one that replied to the bid, and they came in with some numbers here. And so we have some data that if we needed to jump or wanted to jump, we have a equivalency. It's really just tied on how the county expects the increase to go. Right now, we're getting about 5 to 15 issues a week with the county trash pickup across the district. And they just call the county. They call us, but we can't do nothing. We're not the contract owner. They call the county, and honestly, I can't tell you if those issues ever get resolved. Trash not getting picked up, oil spills on the road, all that type of stuff. So not being the contractor for the contract, or in charge of the contract, we're kind of out of the loop on that. And the county's worried about the whole county. The cost increase per year has been in the 5% and above range. But this year it's going to be a big bump because they had a sweetheart deal for many years, and now that contract's ending. Now they're renegotiating, and that's where this came out in a town hall at the college a month ago with Mr. Don Elwell. Basically said there's going to be a major substantial increase to trash coming for the county if the county collects your tax. So I see it on the horizon. I'm trying to get them to put it on paper, but they'll slow roll that all day long until the end of the budget year. Right now, just using the county contracts, it's been about a 46% increase in 10 years. So the average is about 5%. It started back at $130 in 2014. And right now, the county, 110,000 people in the county, only 10,000 people are on the county contract for county collection. But those are the only people paying for the majority of the landfill in our county. And that's just the insider baseball of how that county does that. So if you pay the county tax or the county assessment for waste, you are contributing directly a portion to the waste company, waste management, and a portion of that goes to the landfill. Unless you use the landfill, you pay tipping fee. You're a personal person that wants to take your load to there. No other taxpayers are paying for the landfill. The county does not put general revenue taxes there. It's self-sustaining based on the money collected by this. So it's a little disingenuous that only the 10,000 people are supporting an entire county's landfill. I got a problem with that. But I've made my voice very well known to our county friends on that one. So all that said, getting a sense of y'all, if you guys are fine with it, you're fine with it. I just see it's going to happen in the near future here. If we divest, we would start in October this year. We have the bid. We have some numbers. They lock in a 2-year rate, no increases. To the left, bottom left there, you'll see what that cost would be over the 5-year window there between 2026 and 2030. On the county side, they do not forecast. They basically live budget cycle by budget cycle and wait until a couple weeks before they slap the table on the budget when you really can't change anything. And that's just how they operate. So you see that on the right side, if we stay with the county, it's going to be a challenging thing. This company, they lock in a CPI or 5% increase. They would do exactly what they're doing right now with yard waste, with bulk waste, with trash pickup weekly. Their actual trucks would be with us all day long. They will rent space in our yard to keep the trucks down here, so they're not driving from Polk County. They will hire local people to drive the trucks to energize the economy here. So there's some goodness here. The best thing that I think, especially living in Florida, is that they're certified by FEMA. So the next hurricane that rolls through here, and we have trees down all day long, part of the contract is that very next day, they're picking up yard waste. They're picking up debris. I don't have to wait 90 days for the county to figure out how to do it. And then we get 100% reimbursement from FEMA if you do it within 30 days. County doesn't. County waited too long, FEMA won't reimburse them. So that's coming out of taxes. That's their problem, not my problem. But with this company, since they're certified, the day after the hurricane, I'm calling them, say, start picking up debris. And that's part of the contract. So that's a great benefit to have for our district. So kind of just need just guidance, continue talks with the county, trying to get them to lock down a rate increase. If we're good with staying with county, we're good with staying in the county. But understand, once their new contract sets, we're locked in with their contract for however many years they lock in the contract. We can't just bid out, next year, because they've locked our numbers in, and we are 40% of the county customers are right here. So we're a big chunk of the county contract. So if we bailed, their numbers are even going to go higher if we went on our own. So it's a touchy situation with the county. I know Garrett always says, don't piss the county off. It'll become a touchy situation with the county. If we extract, it'll impact our recycle center. Trust me on that one. But I'm looking at it from the benefit of our residents. I'm worried about their pocketbooks. I don't care about the county pocketbooks. Just be honest with you. That's my take on it. I just need guidance from y'all how you want me to pursue this, or just leave it alone.
Oz, I'd like to ask comments from the board, if you don't mind me interrupting.
No, you're good, sir. That's all I had. Yeah, that's all I had.
So any comments from the board?
Back when we first talked about this, there was, we can put both waste bins out there.
Yes, you can have as many bins as you want.
Okay, that's not.
As you want. Now, there is an additional, there's like a $10 fee if you have another can. It is a little bit, yeah, you can't have 6 cans.
Per month?
No, for the year. So you're going to pay the $229 or whatever it was there. The $270, you pay them. But if you have an extra can, I don't have the breakdown.
Well,
Sorry, I'm
the
looking for
$350 is going to be the annual charge.
So, I'm sorry. So
it becomes $360.
the second bullet, 324 is what this contract goes for the year. A resident pays for 1 can, $324 for the year.
Okay.
We, as the district, I'm recommending, because the district offers more, we pick up anytime you call us for a refrigerator. We come pick it up. If you throw metal out there, if you put your own debris out there and it's not the debris pickup week, we come pick it up. If you all are supportive of that, I'm recommending there's a $26 extra a year per resident. We provide that service as the district. That's our portion. If you don't want us to deal with that, then it's $324 a year, and that's 1 can. If you add a can, it's $334 for the year.
Okay, but right now, under the current, every other week, we have waste pickup, and
Yep.
every other week, the other opposite weeks, they have the bulk.
Yes, sir. Bulk, yeah.
This is going to be, what, once
a month.
a month?
Let me confirm. One time per month for bulk yard waste, and 1 time per month for bulk and yard waste, 1 time per month separately. Yes, sir. So trash every week, and 1 time per month for bulk, and 1 time per month for yard with this vendor. Yeah.
But you're saying if we all pay $26 more.
Yeah, you add the additional, then we're picking up bulk and
All the
waste
time.
every time you call us, because we kind of do that.
We
But-
do it anyway, don't we?
We do it, well, we do it now, but it's taken out of hide. We do it
Yeah.
now.
And another $10 if you have
If you have extra
enough
cans.
garbage for two
Yes.
bins of.
Yeah. Over time, the cans would be replaced with their can. They'll keep the current cans. Over time, they get replaced to the larger size can. But that's an upfront cost to them that I said we're willing to wait a little bit for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
First up, we don't own the cans.
You don't. The
Waste
company will
Connection.
leave them there. We've already had that discussion. They don't need to collect cans. They said if you leave us,
Waste does.
yeah,
Waste Connection.
you just keep the can. We're not collecting those cans. They're already bogged out, so. Yeah.
Any other comments from the board?
Is the county aware that we are looking at alternatives?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. County administrator, county waste management.
Did we send out requests to several companies or we
Yes,
put it out
yeah,
publicly?
we
and
put a
only
bid
one
out
came back?
and the only one was Polk County. Again, this is a very small space for people that do this style. There's companies that do waste removal, but not for 5,000 plus residents. Yeah. Yeah. We wanted a vendor that could meet the right requirements. Yeah.
Any other comment? The only thing I have to say is that I think it's a good idea to get way out in front of this.
Yeah.
And I would like to see it cut some, just because I pay more in trash and fireman assessment than I do in taxes, county taxes.
Check.
So, and I've watched it the 11 years I've been here. And it just every month or every year it goes up and up and up. So the only thing I would like, and I think you would concur with this with our conversation yesterday, after you negotiate with them, I'd like to have them come in
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
and go over, with the board.
Yep.
Is there any other public comment on this?
One other quick question. Have you talked to, who runs it in Polk County? Is it the county?
Yeah. Yeah.
The county doesn't have any issues with this?
With this company, no, they're very well respected in Polk
Okay,
County.
that's all I needed.
This
Thank
would be their largest subdivision, I'll call it.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're,
Daniel Garvin, 4505 Calatrava. I want to try and boil this down for my simple mind to understand. Currently, it's a 229
yes, sir.
going to 350,
If we do it ourselves, yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah.
$121 difference. Then that's going to be added to our assessment? How's that going to get covered?
It replaces the charge on the tax bill at the bottom that says waste collection. It'll be on your tax bill, your annual tax bill.
The increase,
Well, the new number, whatever the new number is, the 350.
the 350.
It'll be on the bottom of your tax bill starting, if this scenario is starting this year, yes, sir. Yeah.
I don't think I'm getting my question answered. Is that going to increase what we pay?
Yes, sir, because right now I don't know what you're going to pay in October this year from the county. They haven't told us.
Okay.
I can just tell you right now, it's 229.
But if we look at it as our current, what we've been paying, what we as the owner of the home, we've got another $121.
It'll,
possibly.
yes, compared to 229, you're exactly right, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to get up about $1,000 on our assessment, close to it.
Not our assessment.
Well, I mean, the county controls the fire assessment, the county controls the waste numbers. We don't control that.
No,
They're going to tick up. We control the assessment. The assessment will be whatever the board decides in budget cycle here. So that number will be driven. But to your question, if we did this today, not using the current county number, on 1 October, your bill would say 350, not 229. Yes, sir. Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Your county tax bill, not your assessment.
County tax. Yeah, it's not an add-on.
Assessment.
It's not an add-on to your assessment, sir.
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
an
Yeah.
add-on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Yeah,
misleading you.
yeah.
Yeah, no.
No,
Any other comments?
Excuse me.
Boz, you had a projection that what you think the county is going to do?
That's in my discussion with the administrator and at Mr. Diefendorf, the county guy. Because it's a new contract, starts 1 October. The 229 woefully underbidded, so they're looking at those two numbers right there.
So even if we increase ours by $121
Sure.
next year, we're saving money over next year,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm asking y'all, I'm trying to get the county on paper to say, Sun and Lake, you will pay X on 1 October. It's gonna be a hard thing to do because I've watched them in 2 budget cycles. They'll wait until 2 weeks before October to approve the final number, and there's nothing we can do then.
When do we need to decide for Polk County?
They've given us until then to discuss the number. I will go back to them, work on that 350 number, the 326 number, saying, hey, we're very interested, but you need to do us a better deal. We can have that. We're still negotiation. It's negotiation 101. So we can do that. Probably by, when do we got to get stuff on the tax bill? By June, July? By end of
July the
June,
15th.
July's board meeting, we need to tell the county what to put on the tax bill if we're going to collect.
Go ahead, Ray.
Ray Brooks, 5634 Matanzas. I'm just concerned with this bulk and yard waste situation. If we go to 1 time a month, am I hearing you right, that if I'm a resident and I have something I want to get rid of, I just call you guys up and you come get it? Is that how it's going to work if it's
So
not?
trash pickup still every day, every week, regular
No, I'm talking
pickup.
about not regular garbage.
You're talking bulk.
Yeah, bulk
Yeah.
waste or yard waste.
Check. If we go down the road of adding the $26 per resident, then I have the resources that we can, if you call us up, say, I got a refrigerator, I got a couch, or I just cleaned out my yard, we would send a team out there and do it.
So anytime, any day.
Well, I'm not going to bring them in at midnight, sir.
I think, I understand that, but I
Yes,
think you have to
yes.
clarify exactly what you're doing.
Yes,
And I
and
think
to,
you have to give the option of, do we really want to do unlimited, or do we want to do every other week like we have now, which seems to be working fairly well?
yes, and to Mr. Gopin's point, we very much do that now with a phone call. It's, to your point, unlimited. You call us on Monday, we'll send a guy out there. But if you want us to get more restrictive, because now we know when they're going to pick up, we could do that too. That's
I'm
an
just saying,
easy
if you
thing.
go to once a month.
Yes, sir.
And you tell everybody that.
Yep.
And you say, if you have a situation, just call us.
We-
You're opening up a can of worms I don't think you want to open.
Check.
That's all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's the management we'll do at the public works level. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Any other comment? Just as a sidebar, my wife and I were sitting at the wall, and a volunteer come up and sat down beside us, and the volunteer was the vice president of this company. He's a talkative fellow, so he just started talking to us and said he wanted to maybe talk to us about trash. And so he seemed like a reputable guy I talked to, but he did volunteer his company to help us during the thing, just to let you know what, I didn't go into detail with him. Didn't tell him till the last minute that I was a supervisor, so. But he sounded very interested in doing business with us. I think it's a good idea. Boz talks with him, and there's a lot of things we can do, I think, Boz, can't we? Once you negotiate with him and
Yes, sir. And
Get-
yes.
get different things.
And what I would ask, we don't need, after thinking through and hearing the discussion, the motion I don't need right now. We don't need a motion. I just need consensus that if you want me to continue trying to pin down the county, that's what we need to do, because there could be we got to figure out, we haven't found the language, but I don't want some zinger coming out in the county code saying, well, you guys can't leave us. That would be very bad.
Okay.
Having a captive audience like
Any
that.
other comment?
But yeah, let us do some due diligence there, but just getting consensus, and we'll continue to have the discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
Question, how would you, if I wanted 2 bins a week, somehow how are you going to put that on the tax bill? That I'm going to have to come in and say that I want
If
2
you want,
bins
yes, sir. You'd have a one
So I'm
line
going
on.
to declare prior to June that I'm going to want a pickup of 2 bins every week.
We could, to get it on your tax bill, we can do it that way. If you mid-year decide to add add a can, then because we control the contract, you drop off $10 to her and you're good. Can gets dropped off at your house. Next year's tax bill will show 2 cans. That's the flexibility of us controlling the contract
Okay.
and having their project manager work for us, working with the truck here and that type of stuff. Yes.
I was just,
Yeah.
yeah, I was
Yes, sir.
just wondering how you're going to handle that, but you're going to, each resident that has pickup is going to have to decide what type of pickup they want.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comment? So I need a consensus.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Sure.
And if there's any specific.
Sounds
you
like
want-
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we got it.
Okay, Boz, go ahead. Continue.
The next is our over $25,000 expenditures, all budgeted items. You see the costs here. So nothing out of the norm that we needed a different vote on, but just for your situation awareness. Boston Street repairs, we already voted on a while back, and usual insurance, foreclosure bills, the insurance for our staff. We purchased the land down in the wastewater treatment area. That's at $41,000. These are all approved different times in the budget cycle. So just wanted you to be aware, we did have some over $25,000 fees, charges.
The gentleman that wanted to swap lands because we're in the,
Yes.
his lot was out there at the waste treatment plant, proposed site.
We worked on a swap deal. He's now owns something north of Sun Lake Boulevard.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did a swap.
Thank
Most of
you.
our swaps have worked out well. There's a few very recently because of how long it's taking that are asking, well, and now I'm thinking about it. Can you just buy it from me? And then we just offer the assessed values.
Okay.
I have a question, Boz.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to talk about solicitation.
Check.
I've had 2 solicitors that are very insistent come to my door.
Yep.
And even though I live in where I live, how do I handle that?
So we are coded as a non-solicitation community.
Correct.
So if any solicitors come by anyone's house and you at any level are disgruntled with them or say you need to leave and they're not listening, a call to our security immediately. Our security will come on scene. If that person starts moving away, you say, I'm calling security now, then we call the sheriff's department. They respond because it's against the code, against the law. And that's the best we can do for it. To your point, that is one area in the code that we're not asking, this is what we're asking the county. We're not asking them to be, to allow solicitation. We want more sterner language in the county code that we are anti-solicitors.
Okay,
So that's why it's in our discussion with the county.
okay,
It's not to open it up to solicitors. Right now, it's very gray in the language and we want to be more formalized.
okay, because this is a solicitor that's actually selling. It's not a
Sure.
Jehovah's Witness. It's a.
Sure, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
It's, and not nicely.
No, understand. A direct call immediately to our security, 24/7 security starts that ball rolling. We usually find that gets the person away from your door. They start driving away, but then our security can run them down. We find them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Top issues across staff. You see it, the staff, even with the wall last week, are still working a multitude of issues. We do have a GoGov interface app that if you all don't give us a few minutes, we can show you. This is what's on your phone now for the district. It's where we send our messages out. We've now have gone live and we've done 4 sessions. 4 citizen sessions that we've done over here that citizens came and learned about it. So, and we'll continue to do that for the education of our citizens, how to use it. It's a very simple app, but if I'd like to be able to show you that, how simple it is very quickly. The rest of the things there, hydrants are all been done, that's completed. We're adding some auto flushers, about 10 auto flushers across the district. So an auto flusher is done at the end of a line. So you'll see those mainly in the west of Pebble, or west of Deer Run area. The Pebble Beach area, your area, sir, where you live out there. You'll see it in the west of the ABC streets, where we have our lines kind of dead end. An auto flusher does exactly that. It forces water through the line so it's not stale and stagnant in that line, causing corrosion and buildup in the lines. It's something you'll see, it's just a pipe in the ground. It pops off, it sprays the water out a little bit. It's just bringing water in the line. We find it very successful in our areas where we have a high density of our snowbirds because their lines are dormant for months at a time. And having an auto flusher in there doesn't have them come back to us next year and, you know, there's crud coming out of their lines because we've been flushing them all year long. So we're putting those in across the district, no additional cost. We built that into the budget. Our resurface plan starts next month with the intersections. The light installs will continue. We have half of them delivered now, so they'll start going in, the solar lights. And we talked the bond 44 stuff. So again, the staff this is a very small snapshot of what our staff is doing, and great work to continue the ball rolling. So if you give us a minute, we will show you very quickly this app here for our citizens.
So there will be additional training on how to use this app properly. We've had 4 classes so far. I'm aiming to do a class a week for the next 4 weeks, one in the AM and one in the PM alternating. But effectively, this application is going to give you exactly what we've asked for. We want full transparency with any requests that we're putting in. So the GoGov requests allow you to ask questions, make requests for services, and then the information comes back to you via email, via your application, which is the Sun and Lake Connect app, which you'll see on this next slide here. There's 4 different ways to put in any requests. There's a very right now, I think we have a total of 42 different types of requests, and we can add requests at any time. Those include solicitor requests, like you just spoke about, Mrs. Phillips. If you have a solicitor, you see a solicitor, you can put a request in. It goes directly to a staff member so that they can start assisting with that request. It can be done on the Sun and Lake app. As I said previously, if you'll look at the top of the Sun and Lake app, if you have it, you'll see Start Request. When you hit that, you'll have a list of all of the available requests. When you select that request, you then fill out the required information, which it can include pictures of the request that you're making, and then any updates you get from that will be sent back to you with pictures from staff and information from staff in regards to your request. You can also make requests online, and then, of course, through calling the district office or speaking face-to-face with any staff member. Staff members will have it on their mobile devices so that you can make those requests. If you just see someone and say, hey, this tree is far too high or the bushes are far too big, we need to cut them back, even those requests can be made face-to-face or via the app. So the real reason that we're using the app, or the biggest reason that we're using.
Just go to the Apple App Store or Google Play Store and download our new app today. Using the app is easy. You can now start a service request for graffiti, potholes, broken fire hydrants, damaged streets, and more issues with your smartphone. Just open our app, hit the Start Request button, choose your issue and topic, submit a picture, choose your location, and describe the issue. It's that simple. Your request is then automatically sent to the correct department, and you can track the requests and communicate with the department while the issue is resolved. Download our new free app and connect with us today.
So obviously just a very small snapshot. There'll be additional training, but the purpose, again, is just for transparency. It gives you the ability to track the requests that you're making and make sure that staff is squaring away what you need taken care of. Boz, I'll give it back over to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be releasing those classes, the dates and times for those classes via social media, and it'll also be posted on our website.
So it's very user-friendly. You just saw it there. There's like 3 steps. You see a crack in the sidewalk. You start request, say crack in sidewalk. You take a picture of it. And it'll tell us where you're at. It gives us the location, and then it goes right to our departments. And then now we have a tracking system on our end by departments that I have full visibility on, as well as my directors. And we start seeing the flow of projects that are coming in, requests coming in, and we have a time hack of did they get responded to, did they get fixed, did they get avoided, ignored, whatever. We're able to track that. And then the goodness of this, even better, is that rather than having us now have to give a list of call this person back and tell them this was done, as soon as we close out the project, sidewalk's fixed, then my roads crew take a picture of the sidewalk, it's done, it's been fixed, and that automatically sends you, the requester, a completion, a picture of it done, and you're good. Or we send you a note saying, oh, you know what, those trees are on personal property, we can't cut them. It's a good correspondence back and forth. No additional cost. We already have the app, so this costs anything for us. We just had to go into and build the network to get it out. And if you've been in the offices there, you see a bunch of screens by my office in the general area. There's now going to be a screen dedicated that lists all these asks that are coming in, these requests. So we're able to visually start ticking them off saying, well, why hasn't someone fixed the Matanzas problem? All right. It's just in your face. It gets us going and it puts the energy towards it, and as well as gives you all feedback very quickly on it. And even just a question. It doesn't have to be a problem. It could be just a question. When's the next barbecue at the restaurant? That'll go through the network. It shows up at the restaurant. They answer it, and you get an answer back immediately. So it's just a digital way to try to utilize our phones better, but also gives us a tracking mechanism for citizens to use. And we'll continue to have training sessions. If you want one-on-one, anytime drop by the district office, IT is in the house. They'll sit down with you and they'll explain it. I just signed him up for some work, but he's good. So that's all we have from the manager and departments.
Thank you very much. Is there any follow-up items?
I do have one.
Go ahead.
I forgot to update the board. 2 weeks ago, my office submitted the district's application for ad valorem tax exemption to the Highlands County Property Appraiser's Office, covering approximately 970 lots owned